Welcome to Strip Coverlet, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Ford, and we are here for a wrap-up for the month of July. We are heading into August. This is to speak about all the things that we did in July. Now, one thing that I do a little bit differently on this channel is that I don't really see the point of a wrap-up video just for things that I read. There are things that I read outside of this video that will not make it to the channel. There are things that I read that are still sort of brewing for content on the channel. That is, things that I read that have not yet been made into videos, and the like. But what good would that do either of us for me to ramble on about that? So I figure the way that I do wrap-ups on this channel, when I do them, I don't do them as often, I guess, as I should, is that I talk about the things that happened on the channel. This was the month of July. There were 31 videos. 23 of them were poetry discussions. 12 of those poetry discussions came from Emily Dickinson. There was one Charles Bukowski, one John Donne, and 9 Sylvia Plath. The 9 Sylvia Plath, the first 9 poems from the collected poems of Sylvia Plath. There is a series running on the channel. 9 of 274 poems have already been done. There's only 265 poems left in the series. Time is running out. Order now. 3 easy payments of $19.95. Don't you know? It's an interesting series so far for me because entering the month, the only exposure that I had to Sylvia Plath, a little bit of biography. I do not believe I was ever required to read Sylvia Plath at the university level. This is a bachelor's degree in English literature. To not have to read Sylvia Plath, a little bit strange. In fact, I believe I only had to read one Emily Dickinson poem the entire time I was in college. And there's a reason universities are failing. There's a reason that universities are failing their students. There's a reason that universities are failing the country. There's a lot of reasons that the universities in general are failing, and a lot of that has to do with the professors. Most of it, not the professors. Most of it, well, easily 51%, I guess, probably the professors. But the other reason that universities are failing students is that you don't get a job out of college and you have massive amounts of debt. That is not because of the professors. That is because of the burgeoning middle management of college. So that's what that is to do. I don't know why I'm griping about this right now. But anyway, the one John Donne poem. Oh, no, we're talking about Sylvia Plath. So entering the month, I had only had Sylvia Plath exposure in single poems at a time. The past 2 years, as I do 30 videos in 30 days for National Poetry Month, 30 poetry discussions in 30 days for National Poetry Month. That's April every year, by the way, by the by. Make sure you have your appointment set. In those cases, I have done 4 or 5 poems from Sylvia Plath in a single month. That's not a whole lot of reading time with a single artist, with a single poet, especially 4 pieces. Reading Sylvia Plath sort of in order, sort of day to day, in fact, is a lot different of an experience. I feel so I had always assumed that I had a great disconnect from Sylvia Plath and assumed maybe some of that was a gender thing. Some of that is that Sylvia Plath seems to be very, very prominent amongst women when you ask them who is their favorite poet. Now, that does not necessarily mean that that poet would not communicate to men, but I don't know that I've ever heard a single man say that Sylvia Plath is his favorite poet. Not that it means she is better or worse for it, just it's possible that there's stuff in there that communicates with some people and not with others. How many women have you heard tell you their favorite short story writer is Ernest Hemingway? I haven't heard any. I know a lot of guys who really like Ernest Hemingway. I think it might be there is some gender disconnect there. Neither here nor there, it's just an interesting fact. However, as I read through more and more Sylvia Plath, I feel less and less as if that is the case. I think the disconnect that I had with Sylvia Plath's poetry is a disconnect of syntax. I think the way that Sylvia Plath may have gone about poetry was almost like the Imagists, the Imagism poetry. The Imagists I still don't understand Imagist poetry. So, Imagist poetry, you think of your you think of the subject of your poem. You think of interesting ways to break it down. No, I'm not saying all Imagist poets do this, but yeah. You think of your subject. You think of ways to break that subject down. So, okay, I want to explain, for example, my dog. I will explain my dog as black wires straight from the spool. Black string straight from the spool. And then you describe the bark. You don't say, "Oh, this is what this is what my dog's fur looks like. This is how my dog's bark sounds." You just go into the descriptions. Sylvia Plath, I'm starting to find, does something a bit similar to that. So this month so far, I have posted 9 videos. I have read 13 of the poems, made videos for 13 of the poems. I It's different. Sylvia Plath is different. Sylvia Plath is challenging, but I think anytime you have someone that is challenging, anytime you have some literature that is challenging, finding that single breakthrough can make all the difference. For example, um, William Faulkner. William Faulkner, very difficult read. Very difficult to read William Faulkner silently to yourself. However, if you take William Faulkner and here's As I Lay Dying, random paragraph. I notice how it takes I notice how it takes a lazy man, a man that hates moving, to get set on moving once he does get started off, the same as he was set on staying still. Like it ain't the moving he hates so much as the starting and stopping. And like he would be kind of proud whatever come up to make the moving or the setting still look hard. He sat there on the wagon, hunched up, blinking, listening to us tell about how quick the bridge went and how high the water was, and I'd be dern if he didn't act like he wasn't proud of it, like he had made the river rise himself. If you are alone in a library trying to get through that paragraph, the commas absolutely murder you. I don't know if he still does. This seems to be the type of thing that some persnickety writer would attempt to break. But at one point, William Faulkner had the record for the longest sentence, uh, non run on sentence, or longest sentence in American language, in American literature, I guess I should say. So that was what I am learning about Sylvia Plath. The one Bukowski was the poem posted yesterday in both the poetry discussion and Bukowski playlist. There is a playlist for Bukowski as well as the poetry discussion list, a playlist for Emily Dickinson and Sylvia Plath, as well as their place in the poetry discussion playlist, a playlist which is now approaching 260 poems. I'm not going to come to you with a whole lot of stuff that I'm proud of. Kind of proud of that. No one reads poetry but you and me. No one reads poetry anymore. Also on the list, so yeah, we should perpetuate poetry a little bit more. We should put some effort, some time and effort and labor towards that. And I'm trying, but we will get there as we get there. The short stories that appeared on the channel this month were from Dubliners by James Joyce, another playlist that is on the channel as well as the short story playlist, journeying story by story through. So this month we had The Sisters from Dubliners, An Encounter from Dubliners, Araby from Dubliners, and Eveline. These were 3 of 4 short stories absolutely new to me, I believe. I've read Araby before, but I believe that is the only one of these 4 that I have ever read before July. Well, some of them were happening in June, but before they were posted to the channel, I am growing an appreciation for James Joyce. Not my favorite, James Joyce. I enjoy him, but he's not my favorite. I am able, I think, to better root out those things which are in the story, themes and meanings and things like that, than I had been before. But he's still a writer that is troublesome to me. So this next month in August, there is a short story from Dubliners called After the Race. Guys, I read that 2 times through and didn't understand anything about it. I read that 2 times through and had nothing to say about it. I had to go through a 3rd time before I had anything intelligible, assuming it was intelligible. Not intelligent, just intelligible, to say about that short story. These first 3, however, came pretty easily to me. These first 3 were James Joyce. From my experience in these short stories so far, there's absolutely a point to a James Joyce story. James Joyce didn't write any oopsies. James Joyce is going to make you stay through the whole thing until you get there. You're not cheating a James Joyce short story. Ernest Hemingway, you can cheat some of them. Ernest Hemingway, you skip a page or two, maybe you didn't miss all that much. Ernest Hemingway, a lot of white space on the paper, a lot of dialogue, a lot of untagged dialogue, a lot of short sentences, a lot of 1-sentence paragraphs. James Joyce, not as much. James Joyce, a little bit more verbose. James Joyce did a little bit more of the labor, almost said laborious, did a little bit more of the labor of the literature. I will not say that he is like William Faulkner, who we just read, we had a little bit from, but he is verbose in a comparable way. Faulkner wants his stories to be absolutely true to the characters within. Faulkner wanted you to know the people in the stories. James Joyce does sort of the same thing, but he has very succinct narrators. James Joyce does a lot of the same stuff, but he's going to leave out a little bit of the moralizing, maybe, that we get from William Faulkner. So these short stories so far have been an interesting read, with the assumption that I'm going through the entire book of short stories. Dubliners so far, so here's going to be some of the stuff that I've read but not put on the channel yet. There are videos, obviously, for The Sisters, An Encounter, Araby, and what was the last one there? Eveline, yes. I have already read through several of the others. I've got a video made for After the Race, 2 Gallants, and The Boarding House. I have never read A Little Cloud. I have read Counterparts and made a video for Counterparts, if you care to find that. But I've also made a video for 2 Gallants. So the videos that are coming this month are a little more challenging than these first 4. The first 4, Araby is basically all about the realization that the narrator or that the main character has. The Sisters is difficult until the last couple pages where you sort of get a feel for the story. And Encounter starts to feel like there's no point to it until you take a step back from it. And Eveline was a hard story to read. Eveline was a rough one. But these next ones, 2 Gallants, The Boarding House, I Don't Know a Little Cloud Yet, and Counterparts, those are robust short stories. So hopefully you are looking forward to those. But that's it. That is the wrap-up. I have 23 poetry discussions and 4 short story discussions. That is 27 content-based contents here on the channel in the past month. Let me know if you want me to do wrap-ups anymore. I am not sure the utility of them. Let me know if I shouldn't. Let me know if I should do them differently. But yeah, also one writer's quote from Miyamoto Musashi. So 31 videos in 31 days, 27 of them being content-based contents. And this, if you find yourself here by chance but not design, consider hitting the subscribe button. Literature is the only thing I talk about on this channel. And if you really want to help me out on the channel, hitting the like button tells YouTube to share all of this, pardon me, with other literature lovers, as literature is the only thing that I do here. But if you want more from me, more other stuff from me, there is a link, as always, to my personal channel to be found in the description below. So head over there and hit the subscribe button. I talk about movies over there. I talk about philosophy over there. I talk about culture stuff over there. But hey, I hope to have you back for the next one.